Welcome everyone. Welcome to another New Earth Abundance Ambassador call. Today we have a super special guest. I've been waiting a long time to have some more time in the grace and the light of this auspicious person, this being. Hey Tan, you've just joined as well. So Sally, Lakshmi Thurley, let's just call you Lax. Should we just do that?
Lax is good. Yeah.
You got to get the book. You got to get the book, everyone. Absolutely.
Hi, got my book.
Absolutely. So, you know, you got to hold it right up next to your face until it feels uncomfortable, and then hold it more.
Wait.
That's media. That's marketing for you. There you go. Shazam. Ching ching. You know.
Oh.
So I haven't got a dog yet, but there's some. This is the beautiful thing. Let me do a quick little intro, and before I do that, let me just read this from your book, She Monk. Our daily life is the new spiritual practice. It's a must get. It is so deep. It is so rich, packed. I know that you exceeded the word expectation of your publishers. Yeah, doubled it. Like that. That's just where it's all coming from. Absolutely. So let me just read this before we get stuck into it. You're my hero. You are the goddess, the universal mother, the she monk, the high priestess, all rolled into one. That is my version of a superhero. I call my superhero Spanda Woman, someone who brings it all to the table and knows who they are, someone who owns it and is happy to be humble, to be them, someone who honors their calling to be devotional and of service to the world. Ooh, goosey ganders. There we go.
Heavy shit.
Heavy, but it's so light. So look, I'd like you to just do a brief little intro of what you stand for. Like, I could read your bio. People have got the bio in the Facebook page there. What do you stand for, and where do you see the movement and currency of your knowledge, or the wisdom that you are tapped into, moving and articulating in the world moving forward?
As always, sensational inquiry, Matt. And I think it's really clear that I'm for an enlightened society. I honestly believe that when we take responsibility, not just for our lives, but for our connection to the divine and how we interact with everyone and everything coming from that place, then that is the only chance we have of this mystical idea of peace on earth. So peace comes when we free ourselves. And when we free ourselves, then we free others around us. So there's no point trying to throw a massive blanket out until we ourselves are doing with focus and dedication and commitment and action what needs to be done on a daily basis. That's the light worker. So, you know, taking it from there, I also come from a very traditional spiritual background, and I've played in the world lately. I was in an ashram for 20 years. And coming out into the world and just seeing how everything fits, and Dharma, so much of Dharma is creating harmony out of chaos. So in Dharma there are no missing parts. It's like when you see the birds in the sky, and there's a big swarm, they're flocks of birds, and they're flying, and suddenly they turn direction and they loop and then they spin, and no one crashes into each other, and everything moves and nothing is left out. That is how we gracefully glide and move through life, when we're living on point from that connection. So the thing that kind of has been lighting me up, or not kind of, is traditionally these great faiths and great traditions are when gnosis happened. And yet then they were bastardized. And my thing is, before that happened, that spark, that spanda, that light, that creation that we are, is still there, present in all of us, but we have to undo the bullshit. We've got to go beyond the myths, and we have to start doing the gnarly, grotty, daily grind. Get dirty, and none of this fluff, you know, and bring that back, and particularly women. Particularly women. There was a time when women were as equal as men. There was never this thing, just because your sex was different, that you were less or more than. men and women shared roles, and women had a very significant role in initiations and things like that. And then that got stripped away for centuries, for millennia, whatever. So my thing is, it's really starting to pour through me. In particular, at the moment, I'm running a spirit copy course, challenging my group. And when I'm reading the intention of these people, and they're women writing, and they're just saying, I have this calling, I have this voice, but I haven't got the courage. I don't know how to get it out. And all I hear is those eons. And it's like, well, that's enough. That's enough. I have to change this. So I'm working with that at the moment.
Profound. And you know, I totally get it, you know, coming from that space of enlightened society where there is, you know, we are triggers for everyone else, but we, you know, in ascending to higher states of consciousness, perception, a reality is birth that influences and ripples, you know, beyond the construct of time. And, you know, one of my favorite, you know, I guess statements of late is time is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Time is totally irrelevant. So whether you're in manifestation or whether you're in, you know, pursuing your Dharma or seeking that, or, you know, self-actualized, you know, realizing who you are and how special and divine and gifted and purposeful you are, time is irrelevant. So Shriyani, we've got you on as well. That's great. Great to see you. So here's the thing. I love where you're going. It is the full aspect of the divine feminine. It is the awakening. That is the awakening, the great awakening.
Yeah.
Is finding that within the self. And what we've spoken about is that spiritual leadership. Do you just want to touch upon that from your perspective? You know, defining, as it were, spiritual leadership.
I did a live the other day on this, and it got so much interaction. Oh, yes. My God, talk about opening Pandora's box. Spiritual leadership is so fundamentally different from regular business leadership, family leadership. I mean, it's the pinnacle. And at the end of the day, the number one thing that's different from a leader to a teacher is a leader has had an experience of the divine so profound that they're established in that, and they can give that experience to those who are ready and call for it. That is the fundamental thing. And so it always moves the perception from the gross to the subtle. And so everything a spiritual leader do is to take what is not real to what is real, and to have the energy and the grace to empower others in the same way. And then, of course, things like live the Dharma. So there has to be accountability. There has to be responsibility. There has to be right living, right thought, right action, and all those other things. And to understand that a spiritual leader is still in a human body. And so it's okay to be human and suffer from humanness. Be humble, you know, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I love it. And Kerry, yep, we can. I can see you on there. Can't hear you, of course. But we will be opening up for questions. I really want to get as much engagement from you all as possible, and to really pick the eyes and you could call, you know, the bones of this wisdom here. And if you haven't got the book, grab the book. Grab the book. It's very good. So here's, you've got it. the Uber plug. Now I'm going to go straight to this other part here. I feel very professional reading these things out, and this is the beautiful aspect, is you can open any page of this book and feel intuitively led to reading a paragraph, a page, a section, and it will give you value. It will add value to you. That's the beauty of it. So it doesn't have to be a front to back thing. I highly recommend you do that. But here's what I'd like to read here is: happiness, fulfilling relationships and well-being depend on us taking the time to know ourselves and to be okay with ourselves. Otherwise, they become elusive. Being okay means being okay in the present moment. You know? This is a state of acceptance, a state of awareness. When we accept our life the way it is and don't try to be someone else, then gorgeous things happen. So yeah, there's a beautiful language that you use. Gorgeous things happen, or gorgeous things will flow through us, key point, through us, creating change that is beyond our wildest dreams and desires. And that's because we've stepped into grace. Yeah. So gold, absolutely gold. So let's talk about Dharma. What is Dharma? Most people may call it, many different things, but what is Dharma?
A Dharma is opposite of Dharma. A Dharma is actually how we live our lives, and that means unconsciously. So Dharma, I gave one before. It's that there is always harmony. There's never not harmony. What is chaotic and what is, particularly now in this transit season, no matter what is going on that we think is out of our control, there is a harmony, there is an ability to go to a core of inner peace. That is Dharma, that is living dharmically. Another one is that you have chosen in this incarnation to be a father, a husband, a business owner, all these things. Therefore, you have to do the best you possibly can and live with utmost integrity. So that means honesty, I was about to say fidelity. Whatever the rules are, that the rules of your tribe are, you live those to the utmost. And if you can't, then you be honest about those and you find the people that are right for you. So it's living with responsibility. And the highest meaning of Dharma is that you are here for a reason. You are here, you are given a purpose. It is constantly flowing through you. It is constantly creating and evolving. And so therefore life is not for nothing. And the highest Dharma is to know who we are, that bit that you just read out. Who am I? What is the source of me? Where do I come from? You start there, and then once you've had that liberating experience and awareness, you must then go back and say, okay, I've been given these gifts. That's part of your Dharma. I am gifted in X, Y, Z. Everyone has a gift. And then when you match your knowledge of the divine with your sacred gifts and then take them to the world as an act of service to humanity, you are the Dharma Queen. You are living it. Not only that, that is the formula for abundance. That is the formula for well-being and for thriving. That's the formula for being timeless, because then everything just gets in flow. And because you're also taking responsibility and you're understanding, well, there's harmony even in this seemingly chaotic moment, then you become eternal. That's Dharma.
So in that state, at that level of awareness and that union, you could call it alignment and union, there is wholeness, and there is balance, and there is vibration. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what, when you were reading that bit before, and nothing is missing. Nothing is missing. We spend so much of our time, as you know, out somewhere else, or rejecting the present moment, or pushing our experience away, or fearful of how people are going to judge us and compare us, that we're not whole. And so we just have to get very present. Remember, nothing is wrong, nothing is missing. The soul is never faulty. The soul never hurts. The soul never dies. I'm simply a soul wearing a glove that's called a human body. And that if you can hold that awareness, then yeah, everything just moves as it should.
Perfect. So you guys watching, and also those watching the replay, if you have questions, make sure you put them in. Just jot them in as we're going along, because as they arise, give life to them, birth them, share them, so we can jump on and get these answered for you. So let's talk about this. What are some of the simplest early steps to moving into alignment with someone's Dharma? So if they're feeling discombobulated, they're asking more questions about their life, they're feeling that there's maybe a friction or resistance, that there is no, there's no, dare I say it, cosmic lubrication in their life. You know what I mean? So, they're feeling something, I've got to break out. I'm not feeling it. What are some of the first couple of steps that you would encourage people to take?
First one in that situation would be self-inquiry. because the first question of self-inquiry is, what is going on here? So when all that stuff is taking place, it's not always that you're out of alignment. It can be, I'm being shown something. Something is trying to speak to me, and because I'm not still enough, because I'm not meditating enough, because I don't spend the time to prioritize being present, I'm having to learn it this way. So it's always to be still, it's always to meditate, and it's always to do really, really good, thorough self-inquiry. The next one is to start looking for the clues and the patterns. So is this a theme? Have I been through this before? What am I avoiding? It's not always what's happening, it's what am I avoiding? Because remember, we're always pushing things away. So if we weren't pushing it away, we wouldn't be having that experience. So what is it about me I don't want right now? And it's usually I don't want to face the fact I have pain. It could be existential, or it could be physical, or whatever it is. I'm ashamed of myself, or I'm not worthy enough. Those delicious little things. So that is the first port of call.
Love it, love it. So in that self-inquiry process, can you give me an example of a question that is, I guess, vibrationally matched to, a higher solution or a higher insight?
First off, is this real? So the first question would be, what is going on here and what is the feeling? Because until we know the feeling, we can't be present and own it. So it could be, I'm scared, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm scattered, whatever. And then the question is this real? And then once you can, and the real is only that which is permanent, which is the self, which is spirit, soul. When I say spirit, I mean the self. I don't mean things flying around in the atmosphere. So, and then if you're very good at self-inquiry, you've done this for a while, then you'd say, what is the truth? And the truth is, in the midst of this, I am centered. I am stillness. And I am deeply at harmony with nature. That's another example of Dharma, is that you are in harmony with your environment. So if your environment is off, even though you're feeling still, there's something not dharmically right there. So that's pretty classy kind of self-inquiry.
Classy.
If you can go into saying, well, what is real and what is the truth?
Yeah.
And then that can snap you out of it in 2 seconds, and you go, whoa, and then you're just fully embracing the moment for the divine play of consciousness that it is.
Awesome. Love it. And Sarah, I know you've got a question there. So a lot of what you've said about Dharma is creating harmony out of chaos. Can you unpack that a bit more? Does it come from taking responsibility from your own perspective? Where does action come in? So, yeah. Quite a leading series of questions there. Nicely played, Sarah. What would you say?
I'd expect nothing less from Sarah.
Absolutely.
Can you unpack a bit more? Hang on. Does Dharma come from... Well, Dharma is purely responsibility. And so your mindset, your perspective, and in yoga, your attitude creates your reality. So most definitely, if you don't like something, your perspective is off. That's it in a nutshell. So there's some kind of judgment that this is wrong. And we know when you encompass all of creation that you have to have the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And it's how we walk between worlds, as Matt would say. It's how we can balance and bring into harmony that it instantly comes from language. Language creates the universe. So it's definitely perspective. And action, pure action, is called Icha. Icha is a download from the divine. It goes straight to your gut. It's a hell yes feeling, and you don't even think twice and you're off and running. So when it comes from personal will, your cogs are whirring and you're weighing it up and you're going, oh, I'm not quite sure. Like you're looking outside, it's a sunny day, and your Icha, your full spectrum of creation is going, get out, go for a walk. But this thing is going, no, I don't know, I bet it might rain. Or like you can feel there's a difference between personal will and divine will. And divine will, if you can tap into that and know, we call it following the good space of clear feeling. When you're taking really great aligned action, you're not getting caught by the periphery, not getting caught by the ego. You're just going, oh yeah, okay, off you go. So, and when you're living dharmically, you bloody care, because there's so much at stake. You want everything. You want people to be happy. You want everyone to be healed. You want everyone to be whole. You don't want to miss for a moment your own liberation, your own freedom. It's like a drowning man needing air, is how I put it, when you put your focus into divinely lining up like that. So action comes from, it channels right through you, but it is a navel-based thing that has to almost bypass the head and then hit the heart, get that passion involved, and then boom, down into your navel, and you're just going to do it.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. And I did have another part, highlighted about language. Language, the spoken word, is the world's greatest tool, or it can be the world's most destructive weapon. Yeah. So language that is creative and divine sets off an energetic signal into the ethers that attracts magnetically like energy. Language is not like that. Is destructive and attracts similar energy. Totally. Yeah. So it's that internal dialogue. But as we move into, we have that dharmic compass, as it were, and we can feel the subtle, which is leading us.
Yes.
But not without us. It is us in communion. It is not outside of us that's saying, oh, I have to do it because it's a higher power speaking to me.
Yes, that's right. It's not a reaction.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And Andrew, you've just joined. Welcome, mate. So if you've got any questions, make sure you plug those in. This is cool. This is really cool. Let's segue a little bit for a moment. I'd like to, part of my nature is future tense, is being able to, evolve the world around us and bring forward, time is irrelevant, but in that play, where do you see the nature of humanity moving towards?
Humanity is a dual existence, therefore there will always be the dual experience, and I see it very clearly. There are those who are going through these frequency shifts, who are going through these upgrades, who are going through awakening, and they're going down that highway. It's like there's always going to be a split in the road. And there are those who just want to stay in the rational mind, who want to, there is nothing but matter. There is, and I think, I know this is a really big call, but this is such a peak era of mental illness, because this fight we have within us to either turn to the light or stay where we are and cause down that road. And of course, the majority of people are causing down the other highway. So it really, the people who are ascending really need to step up, radically need to step up. An awakening is not enough. An awakening, you have just freaking opened the door. What are you going to do with that? Sit there and go, oh, I've got my t-shirt, I'm awakened.
Yeah, you've got one eye just like that.
Yeah, it's like you're literally you're just awake, So then what you do with that? So now we're down that super highway of the people who are awakened, and then there are those who just have apathy and just like reading about it or just like revel in it. But then there are those who are going, well, what's next? What's the next step? I have this thing calling through me. So I see that in humanity, there's always going to be this dance. Good. And it is the dance that actually creates. Yes. So it's constantly moving energy. It's constantly. Yeah. If we didn't have those dudes who are going down the wrong road, we wouldn't be here. Like there'd be no need. There's no need for that. So we the more we hold our light, the more we stand in what, in yoga we call it an asana, but deeply anchored in who we are, then they can go and do their rational thing, and we're going to free them anyway. We free them through when we liberate our DNA, when we, so much work to be done, and that work is just best done when you live life with heart, with wisdom, and be of service to humanity. You don't have to overthink it too much. Love it. Love it.
Make sure if these questions do arise, if they're up in your awareness, they're there to be entertained. So make sure you plug them in. If it's a long-winded question that quite potentially is going to take 95 minutes to answer, then maybe we can truncate it down a little bit. So like there's just so many ways to go. So let's give an example of one that I've heard so many times. My environment, my family may seem to be linear, following the horse's cart, you know, doing what everyone else is doing. I feel lit up. I feel I want to do something else. How does one make the transition? And is it part of the Dharma to actually have that responsibility to be maintained or be, I guess, stay in that environment where there is, you know, let's call it in perspective or through the lens that they observe conflict?
So the first thing to realize is that everything's a concept.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just a concept and a construct of the mind, including family. And that can be a challenging thing to consider. So there's also your soul's evolution. And we may, at some point, I'm a big believer and teacher of karma. Mm-hmm. So we have that thing, we're karmically born, we're all soul. We're not white, black, red, green, B blood group, O blood group, whatever. We're not that. That's not real. We have come through, and it's like, okay, this is the thing I've got to get in this life. If you're having a life that's leading to spiritual realization, it's going to be a tough one. There's going to be hard yakka. You know, there's going to be whatever that is for you, whether it's delusion or whether it's just unexplicable pain, or you just go through some hard stuff like I have. And then you have to constantly do the soul work. And if spirit, if the universe is saying it's time to walk off to the Himalayas, you have to walk off. If the universe is saying you need to spend a month in sabbatical in a monastery in Tibet, or whatever it is, away, then you let your family know, I will do everything for you. I'm here for you. I will cover you. But there's this part of me that needs nourishment. And if I don't go, I'll end up resenting you. So it's always what is consciousness calling through you, and then having the most civilized, skillful conversation with those that you love. And whether they like it or not is their karma, and how they respond to it is going to be then creating the next chapter of their life. So I did make a decision to leave my husband for my path. And I have really copped. I have read things about me online because I've dropped that one. And you don't leave a partner if that's the only thing. Let's face that. But if it was a good relationship, I would have had the ability to go away and do what I need to do wholeheartedly with love and support. So it wasn't. And I had to make that decision. I also knew if I didn't, this part of me that was screaming, just going, you already know who you are. There's just a couple of little changes here that you're going to have to be brave. So life, as you know, Matt, you talk about standing on the edge. Life is always on that edge. It is always on that point. And it's just about how we do things with dignity and with honesty, and how we communicate. So you have to do what comes through you. If not, you'll also have what happened to me when I followed that, but I didn't follow it to the nth degree. I ended up in another relationship, but I had these downloads. By this stage, I was starting to go to India on pilgrimage, and I was being told all these things. But then when I got back home, I was kind of back in the concept of my life. And if I had been really standing on that edge, I wouldn't have had what hit later on. I lost my legs for nearly 2 years. Put it this way, guys. If you have something that absolutely has to be done and you don't pay attention to it, the universe is going to set it up for you anyway, and it ain't going to be pretty. So you're better off being really present and starting to have those conversations. I don't know yet what it is that I need, but I know there is something there, and I need the space to investigate it, whatever that is.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Love the share. Love it. Love it. So what have you taken away? Those of you listening, and Julie, you've joined us as well. Great to have you across the ditch. What's been standout for you so far? What's been an aha? Just type in and let us know. Just pearl drop after pearl drop. So good. So good. And we've all been there. There's been that resistance. There's been that friction, and you go, and you feel this rise in density in your chest, and you're just going, oh my God, or the pit of the stomach, and there's repercussions and all the rest. But that's where trust comes in, right? And you start to sort of think, well, if I take the step, because there is this knowing, there is this subtle, more powerful drawing towards, then there is a I was about to say convalescence, but no, it's not baked TV dinners in an old person's home, but it's, you know what I mean? Like there's a congregation of energy.
Yeah.
That supports you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Universe will always have your back. That's why you live on the edge, because if you fall, you'll fly. Yeah,
I love that. Love it. Get the toes over the edge. That's the deal. So yeah, just typing in biggest ahas right now. Typing in. Here's another thing I'd like to read, and it is something that we all suffer from at times. It's called FOMO. Yeah. So I'm scared because I love and want to do everything. Oh my goodness. I totally understand this one. FOMO, or fear of missing out. Take the time to work out your genius, talents and passions and put them together into one service to start with. Such a big proponent for that. Love it. Then work from there. Otherwise, you're going to end up too scattered and nothing is going to get off the ground. If you meditate on it, you will see the links leading to something specific for those that do use proper language. A bit of dry now. If you it is a difficult discipline when you're multi-creative. I'm one of those, and being terribly creative isn't always helpful. So some of you might relate to this. Totally. You need to hold overall one thing and let everything else be branches extending from it. Trust that you will experience everything in the journey and all will be taken care of, and you'll be given more than you could imagine.
Yeah. Matt, you must know from working with people as a spiritual leader, teacher, mentor, how bloody frustrating it is when you got them somewhere and they're like, they don't take the action, and a month later they're going, oh, I'm over it. Oh, but this next thing's come through, and you just go, oh, holy hell, here we go. And then 8 weeks later, it's like, oh, nah. It's like you have to get that one thing, and you have to dig bloody deep in it, and you got to get the intel, as you'd say, from it, and then you go back and you get the feedback, because every time you take action, you get the next stepping stone.
Yes.
Every time you pause, you get the next dumbass thought somewhere else. And one of the biggest ones is those, oh shit, look what they're doing. Oh, hang on, I should be doing that. Or, it's just, that's lack of discipline.
Yes. Nice one. Nice one. Yeah. And, the path reveals itself with each step.
Yes.
With each step, it reveals itself. You think, and if you can see all the way down the line, and you're absolute about it, and you're not allowing for any external influence, and it is absolute, and you are connected, and you are, then that's the pure path.
Yes.
But quite often, one foot after the other, that's all that it takes. It's called walking.
Chop wood, carry water.
Chop wood, carry water. Yeah. So no making rabbit stew today, and then making, what do you call it, fig jam the next day. So here we go, Andrew. Love the wisdom that the universe will set up for you regardless, and the need to be mindful to go with the flow and make it easy, not fight the flow and have the universe set up. Nice one. And Tan, too many moments. Love your work, Sal. So more challenging circumstances, Andrew. Self-responsibility and the power of words, says Sarah. And what you said about the dance and the human experience as dualistic, and the responsibility once you are on this path of awakened. So many pearls, very inspiring. I love the Dharma explanation. Tan says, And then Sriyani, have been thinking of spiritual pilgrimage for a while, no doubt. Yeah, so I get it now. Universe is edging me. Yeah. Put the nursing on hold for a little bit and nurse the self into divine communion. You'll be loving it. Cool. Well, you spoke briefly about evolution, and there's one question I did have: the soul's evolution. You know, from your lens, from the Dharmic perspective, for one to evolve as a soul is to what?
Well, number one is to surrender to evolution. Don't fight it. Don't put your will on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And be okay. Now, this will upset the New Ages, but be okay with suffering. Be okay with suffering. Be okay with pain. Be okay with the depression. Be okay with the anxiety, because behind all of that is the gold, is the key. And as I said before, the more you're called to evolve, the more you're going to have to finally go through those demons, the dark stuff. You have to put your foot in there and be as determined to find the light in there as you are to sit in good feeling. So that's very important. The other one is to just simply accept life as it is, no matter what happens to you. And that is accepting your karmas. So it's like, I tell a story in my 12-month course about this girl who was with me doing yoga for a very long time, but she was constantly fighting it, and then she ended up with mental illness, and then she was single, and it was just a mess. And then one day in a self-inquiry group, it finally came out, and she said 5 years ago I was gang raped. I was backpacking through Turkey, and it had caused such chaos in her psyche. You know, she was obviously had PTSD. It just explained so much. And in that one statement of acceptance, that it wasn't because she was bad, it wasn't because she was vibrating something, it wasn't because of anything, it was just something that happened. And just to be okay with that, and that no matter what happened to your body can't hurt your soul. Like, it was this massive experience. I saw what she went through. In a year, she's married, and a year later she had a baby, and her life turned around. So it's being able to sit with peace and reverence and acceptance for everything that happens. And it's to take on the awareness that we only want to go home. We only want to go home. We're here to go home. So those who have, cottoned onto this at an early age, like you, Matt, it's like, all right, how do I navigate this? I don't know, but I could quite easily just say, all right, night, y'all.
Yeah.
I know what's waiting for me. I just have a bloody Dharma. I've got work to do.
Yeah.
If it wasn't there, I could leave this mortal coil very, very happily. I have no fear of death. I have no fear of what's on the other side. I see it as the most magnificent transition. I have no intention of coming back. So it's just knowing that a lot of our discomfort or a lot of our dis-ease comes from some deep inner knowing that we're trying to go home.
That's the key word. I think, Sarah, you dropped that in, whether it was on last night's call as well, the Zero Limits call. And this brings up, our ability to create within Dharma. So, create the life that you want. So I come from, that quantum perspective, being able to influence your field, but you being the dynamo, you being the electron magnet that is the governor, not the servant to the illusion.
Spandshakti is that moment of creation where the universe goes from stillness into full-blown creation. It's the stuff that creates the universe. That is popping and happening and pulsating all the time. And when you get very conscious, you can say, regardless of what I've had to go through, of what's coming up, my destiny is no foregone conclusion. I choose to create, and I choose to be a master, and I choose to have a healthy, thriving, well life. It's just along the way you're going to get the odd curveball. So you have to just make sure you don't hold. The deal with that is then detach. So you do everything you can. You have all the focus. You have all the best will and good feeling. And then you have to let it go, because otherwise it becomes a mind trip. And then we start getting caught by our own attachment to our own desires. And of course, that in itself is suffering. So you know, set the intention, do the work, hold the highest for you and your loved ones at all times, and then take your hands off the wheel.
Yeah, love it. Love it. It's, you know, I guess like the analogy of the rose, you know, it has thorns to remind us not to attach.
Exactly.
Not to grasp and to own, but to explore and to experience, you know, that whole time. And so, you know, we are creational wonders. And I love what you said, you know, where, you know, from a nothingness, you can experience and create to full bloom. Time is irrelevant.
Time is irrelevant.
It's the alignment and that full immersion of spirit and grace. Yeah.
You could say time is here once you catch on to the fact that it's just a construct. That time is here to remind us of our eternalness.
Uh-huh.
It's just another little dualistic ploy.
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
Like that flower, when it's in its bloom, it's fragrant.
Yeah.
Not when it's when a young, sexy bud, you know, it has to be, and it's biologically, we can do a lot to it, but it's living effortlessly, and it will die. It will die. So many people are so terrified of that. Has to be brought in as part of the whole. So the flowers is going to pop up, and it's going to have its time there, and it's going to die. And that's the trika of creation. Yeah. And the only other two aspects of that is that during that time, we'll either see the flower or we won't. So there's concealment when we don't know it's there. We can't smell it in the garden. And then there's the grace. Something makes us go, oh, you have to go and see that flower today. You have to admire the beauty. You have to see the hand of the divine. And then you have that spanda moment. You're back in touch with the beauty of creation. And then that just every single thing from a thought to a day to whatever goes through the same motions of creation and dissolution.
Especially with the concept of time, it feels like time is speeding up a lot now. You know, from 1 day to 1 week to 1 month to 1 year. I mean, Facebook is so good at reminding you how much time has passed. This is you 5 years ago on the cliff of blah, 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 blah. You know, and you go, 5 years ago, where did that time go? Or even 12 months ago. Yeah. So in as far as time is the illusion, as you said, you know, there is an appreciation of our eternality, and that, you know, in that birth, life and death cycle, we are, you know, in every moment we can be born anew, we can be born fresh and clear, and yeah. So let's go to your question in a moment, Sarah. Thank you for that. What would you say is one of your best strategies for setting up one's day, like a morning routine?
Set it up the night before.
Good.
Pre-plan your day the night before. So clean yourself up before you go to bed. Don't take the previous day into the next day, preferably. And then that morning you have the intention that this is a new day and I can create anything I want in this day. So it'll be whatever appeals to other people, but for me, if meditation comes up, I now live so dharmically, I don't need to meditate like that. My life has become meditation. But there are days, if I know I'm about to do something that's out of my comfort zone, then I will probably do some journaling, channeling, automatic writing, or I might do some mindset work, like just getting my head really wrapped around what I need to do. And then I'll say, okay, well, today will be a good day if I get X, Y, Z done. And I limit it to 3 things. But mind you, I'm a terribly determined, ambitious person.
No.
So, excuse the type A, everyone. I have to own it. When I didn't own it, I suffered so much fatigue because I was not
trapped. Yeah.
So I have to, for me to be in balance, I've got to watch that tendency of mine to want to create worlds every single day. So I just limit to 3 things, and then I also make sure I'm grounded, because I'm so mystical. I'm a bit of a helium balloon. So I have to be aware and responsible for my feet being on the ground. To do good work, you have to be earthed. It's not enough to go off and have the experiences. That's just halfway there. You have to pull those experiences down and earth them out. And then you can trust everything that comes out of you that day. And so I'd say that's probably the best thing. So connect with the divine, then draw that energy back down, ground it into your body, and then just bloody well do what you need to do and get out of this thing.
Nice one. Nice one. Whew, there's so much there. Grounding. Yeah, grounding is very, very important. It always has been, but most importantly now, as you know, we talk about this cycle of, you know, mental fatigue and mental health is starting to, you know, wax and wane like the moon, because there's not that groundedness. There's not that, let's call it, you know, a frequency alignment with Gaia or, you know, the cosmos, and that we are being pulled off axis constantly by technology and the whims of, you know, even memories and the secretions of our hormones and emotions and all those sort of things, which are really just addictions. So at the end of the day, to create one's ultimate state, to move into that ultimate state as a daily practice, you know, practice makes permanence. What's one thing, whether it's a breath technique, whether it's a mantra or a statement, an affirmation, whether it's a location within the body, what's the entry point?
So the entry point would always be to check in with yourself first and say, where am I at? Mm-hmm. Because breath is the foundation of that, obviously. Breath, the spirit connects to the world through the nervous system, and the nervous system is regulated largely by the breath, and the breath gets screwed up by our thoughts and feelings. So where am I at, which means, do I need to do something mechanical? Or there are many times I'll just go in and I'm already there. I don't need to do anything. Mm-hmm. And so it's just being in pure presence. So you really, to start becoming self-aware of where you're at in that moment will really, really help. But you can't beat breath. Just focusing on the rise and fall of your natural breath and sweeping through, which is a mindfulness technique, sweeping through the thoughts, just sweep them through the body. Okay, here comes a thought. When it comes to feeling, then that can be quite different. If feeling comes up, then I would pull out bigger guns like mantra, definitely. Mm-hmm. And I would self-inquiry, that kind of stuff. But if you love God, if you love the divine, you have a head start on everybody else. Because all you need is to look at that thing, be it your child, or be it your favorite plant or tree, or your favorite song, and you have anchored a relationship through time on that, takes you straight to the divine, straight into that state of bliss and ecstasy. Hello, I'll do that. Give me that any day. Yeah. So yeah, work not just on the mechanical. The mechanical is anything to do with the body or needing a prop. And then you can transcend that very rapidly on working on your heart and falling in love with the divine. And finding ways to do that really fast will shift you in a second.
Love it. Yeah, that's where it's at. We talk about, dimensional shifts. We talk about density being dislodged and freed up, and karma. The heart is that axis, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The heart's the gateway.
So let's go across to actually quick little takeaway. What's landed for you in this section? I really like the idea of integration as we go along, because there's so much information that we have available to us. But what's a standout for you from this next pearly chunk? And Damika, thank you. Yeah.
Damika, you can come to India.
And it's only because your name ends in IKA. That's why the invitation's there. Heart is the key. Yes, Andrew, it's right up your alley, so to speak.
Yes, love type people, the bhaktas of the world. They can have the hardest time. They're the artists, the creatives, the feelers, the empaths. but it can be such a grind for them. But they have the ability to love the divine like a child unconditionally loves a mother, and vice versa. And when they can harness that, they are the strongest people on earth. So it's a very good thing.
Actually, just on that, have you got a process for that? Is that an element that you help people work on?
Absolutely. Actually, that's a big chunk of India. That's a big chunk of India. That's why I go, because they haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. So much of us in the throwing away what was so fucked up in religion. So excuse my French, but
that's right. Venezuelan, whatever it is. Yeah.
I don't beat around the bush. So we tossed it away, and it needed to go. But the thing was, though, I was talking before about the essence of it is still better than what is new coming up. The essence of it is still eternal, and eternal is never wrong. And it's had the time before it got all screwy to be something that they knew in all the face. They knew if you don't do ceremony, if you don't do ritual, if you don't sing, if you don't dance, if you don't do those heart-based things, and also forgiveness and confession or whatever they were all designed to unburden the hearts and then have spirit come in and fill it up. And we took that away and we're so heavily focused on the mind in the West. So I take people to India so that we can sit there and do those practices that are tens of thousands of years old. And what I love is that even in this modern era, they're saying, okay, there are aspects that need cleaning up, because that's just across the board. There's a spirituality in general needs a big, fat, hairy overhaul. They're also saying we are not going to let anything that take away what is the oldest living culture on the planet, as dysfunctional as it is. So they know that they wrote about this thing called Sanatana Dharma 10,000 years ago. And Sanatana Dharma just means there's God. However you want to approach God depends on your inclination. But everything in the universe is the one divine source. And then over time, all these other faiths and religions came, and because they were so inclusive, they just got dominated and taken over, and social structures put in, and they've been in chaos ever since. But at the end of the day, that's all there is. It's just one. There is just one consciousness, whatever we want to label. That's just a head trip. But the heart-based practices have been largely lost. And I know I'm watching now with women who are craving tribe and who are craving circles and are craving what we have been deconstructed since the era of industrialization and things like that, as our families have been deconstructed, and what society wants and needs, and what roles we were suddenly put into to make us politically correct and politically easier to manipulate, and to, don't get me started on this one, but we need to bring back the heart. So that's why I run my satsang programs as well.
Love it.
I run a monthly satsang program, and there's so much grace. See, the one thing is, guys, we only are 50% of anything. We are servants of the divine. Consciousness is going to do the rest. So we've got to put we've got to put our cab light on and say, open.
That's right.
Do the good work with as much humility and steadfastness as possible. And then it's literally up to our relationship with grace and what grace is going to do.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And if you look at a map of India and Nepal, and the major rivers, it is heart-shaped. Right?
It's heart.
So, yeah. And so that's the mass movement of consciousness. That's obviously where we're going. People are waking up one eye, then the next eye, and then the third eye, and then other whatever you want to call it, bandhas, from there. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So the movement of consciousness within the self, where the sum total of all parts is one. So how are we affecting in living our Dharma and being in alignment? How are we affecting, influencing, contributing to the mass, to the all?
First of all, you're giving yourself a shot at liberation. So it's only liberation that's free. There is no other way. You can be liberated if you're in prison, or you can be liberated if you're backpacking around the globe. If you have the right understanding and right connection, you'll know that you're never not free. So that is the number one way. And once you free yourself, then you free all the attachments of your DNA line, which you must honor first. That's why so many of the Eastern traditions particularly, but we honor our DNA heritage. And that doesn't mean that I don't believe the whole blood, stick, and the water thing, but it's just like you were born into the lessons of this line. So you have to pay homage to that and then free it and say, but I'm no longer, the buck stops here, basically, whatever traits, whatever tendencies, that whole lot. And then after that, it's lead by example. So when people start seeing you're free, they start detecting your ease. They can see that harmony as you flow and glide through life and how you handle the tough, gnarly stuff. Then that is the best thing you can do, is to actually lead by example. And the more established you are in your faith, in your beingness, then you're like that rose we're talking about. You become fragrant. And then that fragrance, that's grace. That has the power of transmission. So then you become very powerful. And I don't want to use that lightly. I don't want to say that lightly. But you become powerful, and you have, just in your ability of being, the power to awaken another person. It becomes this chain reaction. So I think that's the best way I can put that. And what you were saying before is so true. Everyone's one eye waking up, next eye waking up. But unless we have people who are okay standing up as spiritual leaders, knowing that we nail our leaders to the cross, that we burn them on the stake. If someone is actually brave enough and willing enough to do that, then they are the ones that help the people whose eyes are waking up, because they're just at the beginning of their journey. You want the people who are at the end, gone through that stuff. That's why spiritual leadership is so important.
I definitely see that it's a return to that, and more and more, I guess, returning to that deep spiritual influence, that deep influence. Yeah. So how are we going for time? Are you about to roll out to off to India, or teleport yourself to another location?
Oh, I've been there, done that.
Of course.
Lunchtime.
Hey, lunchtime. That's right. Okay, so I can see so Sarah's going, and Damika, excellent. That's going to be.
Sarah's coming.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. So does that mean that I need to put on a wig and shave behind the scenes to come and faux pas as a female, be a fax faux?
No, men are allowed, but they have to be qualified, which you are. And I'd if you came, I'd want you to be the sadhu that you really are. I don't know if you've ever been to Varanasi, but you go to Varanasi and there are these sadhus that they just walk along with a loincloth and a stick, and they've kind of got their face painted, and they're so absorbed in the self that we don't even know why they're here. They're just here because they're those people with that grace that can illumine others. But India is that place where you can let it all go.
Yeah, that's right. I do talk about a nappy quite often, but normally the pointy top of the mountain. So, any other questions that we have for Sally, for Lax? This is genius. And if you haven't got the book, it's at all newsstands, popular newsstands around the country.
On Amazon.
Just contact. See, look, you can just open any part of this book. Mystical worlds. Mind your language, darling. That's all you need to do. That's just straight from God, isn't it? Mind your language, darling.
Darling.
Yeah. And so one of the mind your language, mind your own business, the same sort of thing.
Yes, because if you're not minding your own business, where are you? Where's your attention? Where's your focus? Yeah. And your life's just going to slip out away from you. And then you're going to go, oh, but my business isn't working, or why can't I meditate? You're just going to start complaining. So mind your own goddamn business. And
you're paying too much attention to the little pygmy blow darts that are coming in, outside of you to distract you. So this is great. This is great. How would you sum up your your experience and your wisdom in moving forward with your journey?
One hell of a trip. How would I sum it up? Moving forward, qualified. Bloody qualified. I have been in the lion's den, and I've had to not just learn. I'm very lucky. I immersed myself at an early age. I had my awakening at a very early age, but I chose to follow the signs. And when I didn't, I suffered. And then when I did, when there was real gnarly, awful suffering going on, eventually I cottoned on to, oh my God, I have to embrace this. There's gold in this. And I started to find the road to freedom, but I also did the wisdom work. We really do need to build all the muscles. So we do need to do the wisdom work, read those books, do the heart work. But at the end of the day, it's an experience, and it's your own experience. And I've got my bloody badge and blazer. And I'm quite happy and comfortable with that. I'm in a place of no doubts. I have none whatsoever, and I feel very strong in my anchoredness to serve other people. The only thing is, it's the reality of me as my natural self, me as who I am, is that highly creative person. So I'm starting to allow her to dance and just go with the flow with her, and kind of what she creates, bring it back to that one thing all the time, which now I think is part of the universe's acknowledgement that I am where I am, is I have a yoga. I have my own yoga, and that has been approved by such great teachers from my tradition from all over the globe. And that all happens spontaneously. The universe does start working on your behalf. You do start getting the things you have to let go of. We've got to let go of being approved and acknowledged and looking for recognition. But when you do let go of it, the funny thing is that it starts to pour in. So I don't know if I answered your question properly, but that's what's coming through me now, okay?
That's good. That's good. I'm enjoying it. So that's where I wanted to get to, is talk about your yoga. What is it called? What's the root of it? And let's go.
It's called Spandshakti Yoga. So you cannot create without the divine feminine. Take away the divine feminine, the masculine is a corpse. Masculine is the still element of the universe. It's the divine feminine that activates through the will of the masculine. I'm not talking male and female here, everyone. Don't get hung up. You know, man, people who yell at me, what are you talking about? I have to be a man. There's just energy, guys.
Get over yourself. Yeah.
That's right. And we really have taken it. You know, when people are, in Sanskrit, they call it jad, but just ignorant, when they can't get past the sexual types of masculine and feminine, how it has embodied, and they can't just go to the energy play of that. So Spandshakti Yoga is really taking what I saw after my years of experience. What was a loophole was the loss of Dharma. So my skill, my genius is in helping people get back into their spiritual practice, or use the practice and attainment that they have, and know how it wants to express itself in the world without the complicated stuff. Just to get it out, and then to help them know that it's going to evolve the second it comes out. You're going to have to act, because it's going to start to move and change.
Yes.
And if you don't act, you're just going to sit there and be overwhelmed with the consistent, directions that it's trying to go in. So I poured it out only a month ago, and I have 7 essential, what did you call them, Matt? Pillars. There are 7 pillars to this yoga, and I don't want people just to have an awakening. I want people to become spiritual leaders, and that will take years. This is a long haul yoga. You will not be able to do an 8-week course and become a spiritual leader. You give me 12 years, I hate to say it, guys, you have to do the time. So the time starts now, and you got to do the work. Of course, someone who's done the work, then I'm just that point of accountability and keeping them keeping them centered in their asana. And I do that through brand work, funnily enough.
Mm.
I wish I could find another name, because when you are a soul brand, then it's sahaja samadhi, it's the natural state of who you are. And that is the key to living. So it's the key. You can then actually become a spiritual teacher and leader because you're understanding how to hold you and who you are, rather than concepts, labels, and the FOMO and all that kind of stuff. So that's the brand thing. But really, it's to be able to do those things I rattled off about spiritual leadership, to know how to move to God, to know how to give other people the experience of God, to have clear heart, have a clear mind, have a clear navel, follow the Dharma, to at the end of the day know that you are going home. We're here to go home, and you can do that while living. Heaven isn't a place. Heaven is here now, and it's a choice.
Yeah, nice one. Perfect way to end it. How beautiful.
Like that?
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. So good. So good. Oh, yum, 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 yum. It's good. It's good. Any final questions for Sally? Anything here? This is like, we could go on for ever and ever. That's just one of these things. Just have a sit down and a good old yickety yak, and buy a stream, and maybe I've got the stick or you've got the stick or whatever it's going to be.
I know. Thank God we've got a time limit.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, just what's been the biggest takeaway for you? Just before we wrap up, what's been the biggest takeaway for you from this session with Sally that you can apply immediately to your life? You can start to integrate it.
Good question.
Yeah. Because integration's key, right? And quite often we can conceptualize things and we entertain them. It's really just a distraction point. We're just keeping them outside of us. There's the embodiment doesn't come until when?
Come on, guys, tell us.
Yeah.
Well,
chop. Go for it. Tan, D'Amico, Sarah, Kerry, you might be on the road. Julie, Andrew. Been a bit quiet, Julie. Should we just play some elevator music? This is good. Yeah. Love to know more about your yoga. Nice one, D'Amico. Good. Take the steps I know I need to take and trust my heart. Nice one, Sarah. You've been doing that more and more. That's beautiful. Powerful, eternal beings. Yeah, so this is great. This is great. So if you are watching the recording, please feel very, very comfortable and confident commenting below. We'll make sure that you've got Sally's details to connect with her, whether it's about, going back to the motherland and experiencing heart with her, whether it's, moving into into this yoga practice that you've put together. So I got to follow the urges, and so stopped at in the forest for a walk. Nice one, Kerry. Cool. Love that. That's exactly so easy to be in divine flow. Just allow and get the head out of the way. Nice one, Andrew. So welcome, D'Amico. So welcome. Great to see you on. So I look, there are no words. Language is an architect, I know, but there just are no words when there is this, jostling and good stuff going on.
Yeah.
So let's do it more. Let's do it more.
Yeah, let's do it.
It'd be great.
Thank you so much, Matt. I love hanging out with you. You're such a gorgeous being, and thank you for sharing me with your beautiful tribe.
Absolutely. Thank you. Big love to each and every one of you. You too can wear a nappy if you want. And,
highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it. And if you haven't got the book, just grab the book. Just connect with Sal, and she's got a phenomenal Facebook group, the Enlightenment for Entrepreneurs, right? So
that's right.
Go and check her out. Most of you are probably already in there. We are all cohabitating on this ascension wave. So have a beautiful day, each and every one of you. Travel light. Bye for now.